Hey everyone, it's Rob Golfi here with Remax the Golfi team. I got Conrad Zerini here in person. He actually does, I hear, flesh and blood. And we got Brian Hogbin here with Mission 35 Mortgages. We're going to start off with, as expected, Bank of Canada holds interest rate steady at 5%. And also we're going to talk about pre-construction, the right investment for you or not. So, Brian, give me the nuts and bolts. I mean, we kind of knew that they were going to hold it, but then they make a statement saying that that's just for now, that they may raise it, and I think that's I think it's bullshit. I
think everybody was expecting that the Bank of Canada was going to hold a rate, but Tiff and the boys and girls down at Bank of Canada, they can't come out and say we're done. Hallelujah, rates will go down soon. They have to still have this front that says, we're ready to raise rates. You guys better be careful. They still have to maintain that, or else the market will shoot in the opposite direction again, right? And they want to maintain combating inflation, bringing it down, and it is working. But if they end up saying, we're done, rates are done, hallelujah, and put off the fireworks, inflation could shoot up again, right? So what they're trying to do is maintain. I think you'll probably see that in the January meeting again. They meet again at the end of January. I think they'll hold again. They'll probably same narrative. Listen, we're prepared to raise rates again. And I think that's something that they just have to say to temper the market expectations.
Well, you know, they just had one of the surrogates, one of Tiff's surrogates, just had a meeting in Windsor, and he mentioned. He says, well, part of this inflation problem that you said, Brian, is the fact that construction costs are so high, and we have to build more housing to bring it down. So we're thinking like, what is going on? So they're already prepping us. Look, I think we're going to be following Walmart. We're going to see a rollback. We're going to see the rollback of rates. I tell you, end of Q1,
for sure.
Of Q1, they've made such a mess of this whole thing. And already the fact that they're saying that inflation is a big part of inflation is the cost of housing. Now they're saying that. So now they can kind of justify, if they do start to roll back rates, that, hey, we got to get this housing thing going because we have all these immigrants, and that immigration thing without this housing piece is going to cause inflation. So we've got to like, induce this whole thing and subsidize. And I think you'll see a rollback much faster than you think.
I think you'll see
the bonds dropping like crazy.
Oh, you know what I think it is? I think they don't know what to do because they need to put the interest rates down, and they know when it does, it's going to go crazy.
Absolutely.
And every month that goes by, people are coming to this country, and people are waiting and waiting and waiting. They cannot stop another flurry of activity, like a boom. It's going to happen. And that's what they're trying to figure out. How do we deal with that? We need builders to build.
Yep.
And they're not building because of the rates. But we need to get them building again. Like, it's like ripping. I don't know what's a good scenario on this. Like you just can't stop it. Like, it's like they know it's gonna.
It's a runaway train. This is a runaway train.
Yeah.
The economy's going down. Like, it's like an elevator that they cut the cords. It's falling. They got to balance the falling economy, and employment is staying pretty steady. But there are some sad stories out there. But at the end of the day, they're already covering their asses when they're saying, you know what, we got to spur this growth in construction, and it's just funny to me. But it'll be rollback city. I think. And the bond, the bond's gone crazy.
Well, now you're seeing rates now. You're seeing fixed rates in the high fours now. So because of the market speculation right now, you can get a 5-year fixed under 5 now, right? Which we haven't seen.
4.99,
You're kidding me.
You haven't seen that for a long time, right? And I think you're going to see it probably because Bank of Canada meets end of January, not in February. They're going to meet again in March. I wouldn't be surprised if you see the rollback in March, right? Yep. But I think it's important to remember too, the rates went up in the elevator. They're probably going to go down on the escalator. They're probably going to go down.
So question right now, renewals coming in, 1 year open, best thing to do. And then lock in maybe at the end of the year.
It's so funny. Nobody was taking variable rates. Now we're seeing a huge spike in variable. Everybody's banking on the variable right now. The 2-3 year fixed, not so much anymore. It's either the 1 year or the variable. But the challenge still is that in order to get people qualified, because the stress test is still high, people get the maximum affordability by taking a 5-year fixed, because that's the lowest qualifying rate. So that's the only kind of shitty thing out there, where they haven't amended the stress test yet, and some first-time home buyers, to get into the price point that they want, have to take a 5-year to get the qualifying rate.
I don't think the 5% is a bad rate actually.
No,
I think
not
it's
at all.
good. I think if you can
Not at
lock in, if you know you're going to be there, and if that works for you, I don't think you're off on the 5%. I think that's where it's going to hover probably towards the end of this year. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I'd lock in right now on some of my properties at 5%. I'll take it in a heartbeat. I'll lock in for 10 years on
Well,
that.
you got to think too, the variable rate has to come down 4 to 5 quarter point reductions in order to meet the 5-year fix that you locked in at. So still, if it does go down in March, it's not going to go down by half or 3/4.
No.
It'll go down a quarter.
They're going to do it slowly. They're going to do it slowly. They don't want to flurry the market too fast and too crazy.
Yeah.
I know. So this is another thing here. So I want to get into the pre-construction if it's the right investment. Now, I think for an investor, not bad. First-time buyer, not good. Now, and here's my scenario.
Yeah.
So you're a first-time buyer. You want to buy this condo, and it's going to be 3.5, 4 years before you actually take possession. Okay, you put the deposit. You're going to wait. You can't wait. You know, you bought it at today's prices, but you're going to get it in 3-4 years. The condo corp in 3.5 years from now says, sorry, the developer, we can't build, we're bankrupt, or we're not going on the contract that we have. That first-time buyer just lost 3 years or more of appreciation of something else that they could have bought.
Yeah, deadly. Yep.
Yeah. So
unless you've got a plan, like, you know, you're going to get married in 3 or 4 years, God bless you, right? Unless you can plan that, it could make some sense. And if you started early enough and you weren't ready to like leave the nest,
right.
You started early enough and you've got that time. Other than that, you're right. If it's you lose all that market appreciation.
Like if you bought something else, you probably would have built that
Well,
appreciation.
I think too, you like even on the resale, you're losing principal pay down because let's assume the market even was flat over 3 years. If you bought a resale, you're paying down your principal by 15, 20 grand a year. So you're building up equity by buying a resale quicker than a pre-con, even if the market's flat and you miss out on appreciation.
Yeah, like, you know what, and I get it. I mean, the condo market is driven by investors. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, no question,
if we didn't have the investors, none of these buildings be going up as fast as they are. And they're buying like, you know, 2 to 6 at a time. A lot of these guys, right?
Well, and that's why you're seeing the absorption rate of condos now, like not even pre-con, but the absorption rate of condos, existing condos, is diminished because a lot of them were investors. They all decided to put their condos for sale at the same time.
Yep.
So this is a great opportunity if you are a first-time buyer to get into that market because you can really negotiate because they're losing every month. We hear stories of people losing $1,000, $2,000 a month between the non-recoverables, the taxes, the condo fees, and the interest rates the way they are. So this is an opportunity for people to kind of get into that market if you're a first-timer.
For sure.
Existing is amazing.
For sure. Well, there's like in Toronto, even locally here in Hamilton. I mean, what's the one we were talking about this, I think, weeks ago, Fruitland Road and North Service Road, that condo building. There was like over 30 for sale in there. Now, if you went in and aggressively negotiated on, put offers on all of them, I guarantee it 2 or 3 of them would have said, you know what, take it and run. They're willing to take their losses and run. And you know what? And the thing is, our markets, they change so fast. Like it's a 1 year turnaround. Like, you know how fast the interest rates went up, and I think the same thing will happen. Like you said, Brian, like the elevator going up, escalator going down, but it's gonna be good for people to hang in there and buy something. Like,
Yeah. I think it's really like, I think the savvy investor looked at revenue minus expenses equals cash flow. And I think people who got caught up in the marketplace, bought 3, 4, 5 condos and just bought pure speculation are bleeding.
Yeah.
And to Conrad's point, Rob's point, they're willing to walk away from getting their HST back because if you rent it for a year, you get the HST back. If you don't, you got to pay that bill. Willing to walk away, and they just to stop the bleeding right now. I think it's a great time to look at those.
Oh yeah, if you Google like distressed condo sales, you'll see a whole list of condos coming up, and people are showing. Listen, you get my deposit plus 50,000. It's like lease busters, right?
Yeah,
remember when leases?
Yeah.
Remember lease busters came? Everybody wanted to get out of the leases because they had high lease rates, whatever. They were paying people to get out of their leases. Well, you will see people paying people to get out of their pre-construction purchases. So it's a very interesting time. And for that savvy investor, that first timer that wants to get into the market and save that deposit and with a $50,000 lift, by all means, go take it.
So here's the one thing. Television City.
Yes, yeah.
They sold and then they reneged on their contracts.
Yep.
Can they do that?
Technically, yes, because they because they're all each one of these condo projects is a separate entity, right? So they can go bankrupt, they can take it down. Like,
but they sold in I think when was it? Was it 2017? And they pretty well almost I think they were 80% sold.
Yes.
And then they said, well, wait a minute, we can get more money probably. Was it greed?
Yeah,
greed, I guess.
And the price of construction went up. But so there's definitely a need for a charter, just like they have a charter for mortgage charter, right? Like a for consumers.
So
right?
the cost of construction, that's what caused them to say. They said we can't make money at that number.
So we need something like, they've done it with the airline industry. I know they've done it in mortgages right recently. We need something that protects consumers from this type of thing, that they penalize these people from doing this.
Well, you miss out big time. I remember I bought one at the Tiffany Square. Do you guys remember that one? And the Connolly that never got. And you know what?
The church, that church at the facade there.
Right
here on James Street.
Yeah.
No kidding.
How many times?
That's changed hands how many times?
What people forget about that one is that, you get your deposit back, right? So the deposit came back, but what you missed out on is the opportunity cost of, imagine what I could have bought 4 years ago that would have been built. Now that
you lost out on that.
That first time buyer, if that was my house, I was waiting for it to be built and I bought something for $350. Now it's $550. I got my 20, 30 grand back, but I don't have a place to live. I don't have a property and I can't get in the market.
Addie in Burlington, Addie Developments in Burlington on Lakeshore. People bought for $650, 700 square foot. They snuck an amendment in that they could modify pricing. And then all of a sudden the day of reckoning came and said, hey guys, if you want to stay in, it's $1,300 a square foot. If you want out, we'll give you your deposit. So there you go. All that time.
It's always, there's always
too good to be true. You got to really look at it, guys. When you're buying.
So right now downtown here, there's a huge condo complex going up. Yep. And I think only anything under 400 or under 600 square feet, you don't get parking.
Yeah, no parking. It's crazy.
In my opinion, I don't think I would buy a condo. I don't care if it's a bachelor. I would not in Hamilton. I would not buy a condo unless it had a parking spot.
Yeah, look at you. Just have to talk to a realtor, talk to somebody from your team, and they can do the analysis for you. There's buildings here, Kiwi for one, that there's not parking. They're on the market the longest.
Yeah.
Even from the rental side of things, even when you want to lease it, it's on the market a long time. So absolutely, you better consult a realtor about that kind of thing. And you guys have the
I wouldn't touch it. Personally, I wouldn't touch anything unless I had a parking spot.
Yeah.
And I was talking to those guys. They did a presentation, and I think they're kind of scared because they know people want parking. I mean, Toronto, you can get away with it.
Yeah.
Like Toronto has got everything downtown.
System,
Like people don't even have driver's license. I mean, you can get away with it. But here in Hamilton, I mean, it's very rare where you see somebody that lives downtown, but they still use a car. Very rare.
Very rare.
Yeah. I think we're probably 10 years away from that. It's almost like, do you remember the first condo that went up, that Chateau Royale by the by the train station? Yeah. And that was one of the first big condo conversions, but nobody was buying into it because it was ahead of its time in Hamilton. I think that no parking is probably ahead of its time in Hamilton. I think that will be the case later. But
is that building got a shortage of parking?
Yes, it does. Yeah,
it does. You know what? They built that building without balconies also.
Yeah, I know. Well, it was an existing part of it. Was
right. Because people want you need if you need fresh air, you just open up a window.
Yeah.
What do? Just put your face against the screen or what?
They are cutting down on it now. Like a lot of new builds, a lot of purpose-built apartments, they're cutting down on amenities. They're cutting down on even like balconies and things like that, just to save costs, to bring the cost down. So you're going to see a lot of that coming through.
Well, remember the Renaissance that was built on Highway 8, Queenston Road.
No balconies.
No balcony.
Same thing,
But why would they do that? I mean, especially
at the time, the technology around those balconies, a lot of balconies were getting replaced on buildings and things like that. They did they
rusted out. They rusted out.
Engineering, they just didn't have finalized. But it is expensive to have balconies because you'll have to maintain them over time.
Right.
And then you get a bigger square footage, right? Like you're going to get an extra 10, 15 square feet
inside.
Like if you don't have a balcony, right? So then it's
100%.
Yeah, that's true.
More living
that's
area.
True.
Yeah. It's all money. It's cost.
That's it, man. All set. Well, guys, listen, I appreciate you guys having on. Thanks for coming in
my God, I
person,
love it
Conrad.
here.
Yeah, it
I
was
gotta
good.
do this
Good.
more
I got to
often.
take you a tour of some of the stuff that we've done around here.
Amazing.
And Brian, thanks for being on. I appreciate it. You're in the Oakville office. What is
Yeah,
that?
totally.
Is that a 4-screen TV back there?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
This
You can buy 'em
office
like
is
that?
pretty
Yeah,
dynamite.
yeah.
This
Oh,
this
fuck,
office is awesome out here.
Yeah, it
Very,
is.
Yeah,
very
I got to check it out. I got. You
Yeah.
know what? I got to check it out.
Yeah, cool.
See,
Amazing.
I love
I love you to
the
come. Yeah.
4-screen TV.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, we're going to do
yeah.
in there. We've got a plan to do an immersive theater in that office. One of the first in Southern Ontario.
What's an immersive theater?
So it's a room like this with screens on the ceiling, on the walls, everything, and you sit there and you get immersed in the community, and then you get immersed in the real estate. So first of its kind, we're working on it right now, and it's going to be in that office right there.
I already know I can't afford to do that
We're
anywhere.
gonna put
I
on
already
the AI
know.
goggles. The AI goggles. That's
no,
how
God,
That's it.
that's the cool part. You're,
That's it.
You're immersed in it, like so. It's. You're
I love
in the
it. I love
space,
it.
yeah.
Awesome. Anyway, guys, thanks a lot. We'll catch you next week.
cool.